So we'll continue to read and go through our slides for our book written by Greg Marshall Johnston, The Evergreen Release, and the slides were prepared by Margaret Hill. I don't owe any rights to any of this document. Uh, Everything was done by Margaret Hill. They owe the full right, and I'm using it by my affiliation with Early College. And so I'm using this for the purpose of education and my affiliation with Elite College. So now let's go. We want to look at market research essentials. What should go into market research? So if you are a marketer or you are into marketing management, what should you know before you conduct research in the open public? So we'll look at the difference between market information systems and market research systems. We'll describe the difference between market information systems and market research systems. We'll also identify how critical internal inside the firm information is collected and used in making marketing decisions. We'll also look at explain essential external outside the firm information collection method. We'll look at recognize the value of market research and its role in marketing. We will define the market research process, and I will also illustrate the current research technologies and how they are used in market research. Okay. Now we say making good marketing decisions, making good marketing decisions. If we make good marketing decisions, what do we mean by making good marketing decisions? Information is power, and if we say information is power, is you are rich, and especially if you tend to utilize the information you have to productive ventures. And so information, searching for it alone is not easy, and having it so information is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. You need to utilize information and use information for what is going to bring you food on your table or put more money in the bank. So information is really powerful. And so we say that the right information at the right time in the right format is essential for decision makers. The right information at the right time and in the right format is essential for decision makers. So we continue to say that market research is the methodology, identification, collection, analysis, and distribution of data related to discovering and solving problems or opportunities. It enhances good decision making. So market research is methodology, identification, collection, analysis, and distribution of data related to discovering and solving problems or opportunities. And it enhances good decision making. So there's methodology, identification, there's collection, analysis, and distribution of data related to discovering and solving problems or opportunities. And it enhances good decision making. I say that a significant problem for most managers today is not having too little information, but having too much. So sometimes it's difficult for you to sift information and get the right and relevant information to apply because there's too much information. And what do you need? And sometimes even the information that you want to get, is it the rightful information? And what have you? And these are very, very important for discourse analysis. Okay. Making good marketing decisions. They need to know. Marketing managers need a system to design and execute research that generates precise information. Marketing managers need a system to design and execute research that generates precise information. We say two fundamental types of market information. Two fundamental types of market information needed today. We have the data related to broad areas of interest. We say that data that addresses a specific question. So we would always have to consider marketing managers need the system to design and execute research that generate precise information. And so there are two fundamental types of market information needed today, and they are the data related to broad areas of interest and data that address a specific question. So we say market information system, MIS, is not a software package, but a continuing process of you identify, you collect, you analyze, you accumulate, and dispense critical information to marketing decision makers. So market information, MIS, is not only management information system. Okay, MIS could also represent market information system. And we say that MIS is not a software package, but a continuing process of identifying. So we identify, we collect, we analyze, accumulate, and dispense critical information to marketing decision makers. The nature of a market information system. What information should the system collect? We say that we consider what information is important and the source of the data. What are the information needs of each decision maker? Not everyone needs the same information. How does the system maintain the privacy and confidentiality of sensitive information? And then we limit access to those who need to know. So what information should the system collect? Consider what information is important and the source of the data. What are the information needs of each decision maker? Not everyone needs the same information. How does the system maintain the privacy and confidentiality of sensitive information? We have to limit access to those who need to know. At the heart of marketing is a relationship. So when we look at the internal sources collecting information inside the company, we say that at the heart of marketing is the relationship among the company, its products, and its customers. So companies need to understand what is and is not working in the customer interface. They need to also look at market information systems, help identify problems, and proactively address issues. Companies should not overlook the information available in their own company. Internal information sources. So, with the internal information sources of gathering information in the firm, we can consider the customer orders. That is the customer relationship manager sales order document. We can look at the customer orders. We can look at the customer payment. That is a financial document and databases. So the customer orders, the customer payment. We can gather the marketing plan, which is a management document for decision making. We can look at the salesperson information systems, salesperson generated data. We can look at the customer inquiries, the marketing document, and database. So all these are very important. So we look at the customer orders, CRM sales order document. We can look at the customer payment financial document and databases. We can look at the marketing plans, the management document. We can look at the salesperson's information systems, salesperson generated data. We can look at the customer inquiries, marketing document, and databases. And these are very important. From the customer's order to order fulfillment, we have data collected and analyzed in a CRM system enable companies to, we say, we identify the frequency and size of customer orders. That is the data that has been collected and analyzed in a CRM system. And then that is the customer relationship manager system. So we identify the frequency and size of the customer orders. We determine the actual cost of a customer order. We rank customers based on established criteria like profitability. We calculate the efficiency of the company's production and distribution system. One of the best internal information sources is the Salesforce. And we say that because they interact with the customers directly, they can learn about customers and market trends. They gather information about competitors' tactics and plans. And we say that particularly it's important in the business to business environment where salespeople are the primary method for communicating with customers. So, the salespeople, the forefront workers, the forerunners, they carry information from the customers to the company and information from the company to the customer. Very important that we learn to adjust with them, and then we learn to do things that would make them, So it's very good that we try to find the balance by listening to them when they bring information. Okay, not only carrying information about products and company activities to customers, but it should be the balance. There should be a balanced interplay. Oh, that's what. Okay. Now, head on the street sales information system. Head on the street sales information system. A sales information system includes formal systems for collecting data, getting the data, interpretation of data, distribution of data, getting the analysis to decision makers and back in the field. So research, it doesn't end. It doesn't end in the internet. It doesn't end in the shelf. It doesn't end when the information. So we collect data, we interpret the data, and we have to distribute the data. And that is one key thing that. So after collecting data, interpreting data, what we do is that we need to distribute it to key uh, management and key management and decision makers for them to make good use of them, and that's very, very important. Yeah, we have external sources. We have external sources that's collecting information outside the company. We have external sources that's collecting information outside the company. So business success is based in part on both the quality and quantity of information available to management. So we say that most companies engage in collecting, analyzing, and storing data from the macro environment on a continuous basis known as marketing intelligence. So that most companies engage in collecting, analyzing, and storing data from the macro environment on a continuous basis known as the marketing intelligence. And excelling in marketing intelligence is a competitive advantage. So anytime that business success is considered, we have to look at the quality and quantity of information available to management. And that is very important. Some information is junk, like it's outdated, it's primitive, it's archaic. We need to consider quality information, and it should, if it's quantity, it should be quality. So we don't have quantity information that is irrelevant to the discourse and to the management of the firm in terms of marketing strategies, marketing plans, uh, you know, marketing decision making, and marketing mixed decision making, marketing mixed strategies. It's supposed to we're supposed to make sure that the decisions are quality, and if it's quantity, the quantity in terms of the number or quality. So these are very, very important. So business success is based in part on both the quality and quantity of information available to management. Yes, most companies engage in collecting, analyzing, and storing data from the macro environment on a continuous basis, known as marketing intelligence. And excelling in marketing intelligence is a competitive advantage. Excelling in marketing intelligence is a competitive advantage. External factors that affect marketing decision. External, external factors that affect marketing decisions. When we talk about the external factors that affect marketing decisions, we look at the political legal environment. And if we look at the political legal environment framework, we now channel to consider the economic conditions. So political legal environment, we look at the economic conditions. The technology transformations, we look at the natural world. And then we also look at the demographics and competition. Now, when we look at the demographics, we look at the population of interest, we look at the ethnic groups, we have the geographic changes. So the demographics will bring about the competition, and then technology transformations will bring about, we'll make decisions based on the natural world. And then when it's a political legal environment, we'll look at the economic conditions. And these are very, very important external factors to consider. So external factors, collecting information outside the company. Demographics help us to define the market. We identify new opportunities, and marketers are interested in populations of interests. Marketers are interested in populations of interests, ethnic groups, and geographic changes. Marketers are interested in populations of interest. Marketers are interested in ethnic groups. Marketers are interested in geographic changes. So the mixed race population is growing. So you see, offense for great hair, defense against flakes. So when you look at this address there, we say that the mixed race population is growing. Advertisers continue to see endorsement from mixed race celebrities like Patrick Mahomes and Troy Polamalu. Head and Shoulders target his markets using one of the best known athletes in the world. So that's it. And we say that the external sources, we collect information outside the company. And whether we look at the economic conditions, the two principal types of economic knowledge, we say that the microeconomics, the study of individual economic activity, the study of individual economic activity, we can consider the firm, we can consider the household or prices. That's microeconomics, the individual economic activity. But macroeconomics is the study of economic activity in terms of broad measures of output, interactions of various sectors of an entire economy. So the micro is looking at an individual activity or sector of the economy, but macro is looking at the interplay, the broad analysis of the activities of the economy. Right now, when we look at excuse me, when we look at other external environment factors, we could consider technology transformations. Technology transformations. We could look at the natural world, political and legal environment, competition. Market research system. When we look at the importance of market research to managers, we can talk about good marketing research follows a well-defined set of activities and does not happen by accident. Good marketing research, it follows a well-defined set of activities and does not happen by accident. It enhances the validity of the information. It enhances the validity of the information. It enhances the validity of the information. Okay, that's very, very important. It's impartial and objective. It's impartial and objective. Okay, now let's look at the market research process. Let's look at the market research process. If we look at the market research process, we can define the research problem. We define the research problem. We establish the research design. We search secondary sources, collect the data, analyze the data, report the findings. Now, you define the research problem. You establish the research design. Search the second. My concern is the data collection. If it's only secondary sources, because at times we might also depend on not only on secondary source, but we can do some market surveys, and maybe we need to look at that, because I don't want to only think that most of the time we would have to depend on secondary sources, or that there are things that we can even do qualitative analysis for market operation. Yeah. So define the research problem, establish the research design, we search secondary sources, we collect the data, we analyze the data. So you define the problem, you define the research design, search secondary sources, you collect the data, you analyze and report the finding. No. Let's define the research problem. Let's define the research problem. One of the biggest challenges facing a market researcher is accurately defining the problem. One of the biggest challenges facing a market researcher is accurately defining the problem. The management research deliverable defines what managers want to do with the research. The management research deliverable defines what managers want to do with the research. Key is to have information to make better, more informed decisions. Key is to have information to make better, more informed decisions. Define the research problem. Exactly what information is needed. Define the research problem. Exactly what information is needed. So one of the biggest challenges facing a market research is accurately defining the problem. And the management research deliverable defines what managers want to do with the research. Key is to have information to make better, more informed decisions. And so we define the research problem, exactly what information is needed. Now, research design activities. Research design activities. So the activity type of research, we say questions to be answered. Type of research, questions to be answered. What kind of research needs to be done? What kind of research needs to be done? That's the type of research. The nature of data. What kind of data do we need? There is a nature of data collection. How should we collect the data? How should we collect the data? The information content. What do we need to know? Sampling plan. What should be included in the research? So the type of research, what kind of research needs to be done? Nature of data, what kind of data do we need? Nature of data collection, how should we collect the data? Information content, what do we need to know? Sampling plan, who should be included in the research? And that is very important. At times, we consider these three basic types of market research. This we do causal research, that's the cause and effect. We do descriptive to describe, explain phenomena, exploratory to discover. Okay. When we say, when we want to explore, exploratory research, we clarify the research problem. We develop hypotheses for testing in descriptive or causal research. So we develop hypotheses for testing in descriptive or causal research. We gain additional insight to help in survey development or to identify other research variables for study. Answers the research question. So exploratory research clarify the research problem. We explore. We develop hypotheses for testing in descriptive or causal research. If it's exploratory, it could be descriptive or it could be causal. And so we could develop hypotheses. We also gain additional insight to help in survey development or to identify other research variables for study. And we answer the research question. Okay. Now, descriptive research, it identifies associations between variables. Descriptive, it identifies associations between variables. And then we say that it identifies the characteristics of our target market. Identify the characteristics of our target market. Assess competitor actions in the marketplace. Determine how customers use our products. Discover differences across demographic characteristics, age, education, and income with respect to the use of our products or our competitors. So descriptive research identifies associations between variables, identify the characteristics of our target market, assess competitor actions in the marketplace, determine how customers use our product, discover differences across demographic characteristics, age, education, and income with respect to the use of our product or our competitors. Causal research. Causal research looks to discover the cause and effect between variables. Causal research looks to discover the cause and effect between variables. Factors to consider: benefit versus cost. Benefit versus cost. Time until decision, nature of decision, and availability of data. So if you're doing a causal research, the factors to consider is the benefit versus the cost, the time until decision, and then we also look at the nature of the decision and availability of data. So you look, the primary data collected specifically for the research question at hand. It could be for qualitative, quantitative. The secondary data collected for some other purpose than the problem currently being. So primary data, you just go to the field and then you'll get the information that you need as and when that you want to. But secondary data is information that has already been gathered and has been analyzed or has already been put to its final. So you go take it, make some analysis based on your research questions or hypothesis, and then present your findings, and then those findings could be useful. So nature of data collection. How should the data be collected? Nature of data collection. Say, how should the data be collected? And if we talk about how the data should be collected, we look at the focus group, which could be moderated by for professionals, 6 to 10 people, unstructured, open format, not a representative sample, but leads to development of service. In-depth interview. In-depth interview have the unstructured or loosely structured with an individual based on some characteristic of interest, often demographic. So that's also important. You have to look at the nature of data collection. The nature of data collection. Nature of data collection. How should the data be collected? Nature of data collection. How should data be collected? So if we want to collect data, if it's a descriptive research technique, okay, I believe I have moved a couple. Yeah, so I said nature. If it's a descriptive research technique, surveys are structured questionnaires. You could use the email, you could use telephone or internet. Behavioral data is based on what consumers do, not what they say. And then observational data is collected by watching what people do in various situations. Mechanical observation uses machines and what have you. Now, when you come to the what do we need to know? What do we need to know? A critical part of research design involves determining exactly what information is needed and how to frame the questions to get that information. Consider question format and responses. Question format and responses. So the open-ended questions, and with open-ended questions and closed-ended questions, we have to look at them very well. Look at open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. They help. What do we need to know? So consider the method of survey delivery by mail, telephone, electronic. Sampling plan. Who should be included in the research? Once the other elements of the research design have been developed, it is time to consider who will be selected for the research, whether it will be census, whether it will be sample, probability sampling, non-probability sampling. Okay. Government sources are secondary sources. It could be the federal, state, and local levels. Market research organizations, Nelson Media Research, JD, Power, MMGY Global, Information Data Services. These are market research organizations that you can get data from. So they are all secondary. So the government sources, the market, we have the internet, consider the source, 2 kinds of data, the market research firms that share or sell data, and general knowledge sites like business publications or academia. So with marketing research process, we collect the data, we analyze the data, and we report the findings. Market research technology. Market research technology. Online research tools, online cloud databases. Many independent online databases can be accessed for free. Online focus groups, convenient and cost effective. Limited to those who have access to a computer. Can be hard to verify who is actually responding. And then, we do the online sampling. Statistical software. With training and data, managers can conduct analysis not possible. They can conduct analysis not possible a few years ago. So most popular packages are IBM SPSS and SAS. And then we also consider the Excel spreadsheets, which are the most widely used tool for analyzing business data. Issues in international primary data collection. Issues in international primary data. Unwillingness to respond. Unreliable sampling procedures. Unwillingness to respond. Unreliable sampling procedures. Inaccurate language translation and insufficient comprehension. So unwillingness to respond, unreliable sampling procedures, inaccurate language translation, and insufficient comprehension. These are issues in international primary data collection. There's unwillingness to respond, unreliable sampling procedures, inaccurate language translation, and insufficient comprehension. Now, there are challenges in collecting secondary data around the world. There are challenges in collecting secondary data around the world. We look at the issue of data accessibility, data dependability, data comparability. Data accessibility, data dependability, data comparability. These are very, very important. Like I said, from Margaret Hill, because learning changes everything, I owe nothing. All the slides were provided by them. I got it through my affiliation with my college, Elite, and that is it. So, for educational purposes. Thank you.